Welcome back to Armor Radio. Josh here with Dusty.
Yeah, man. Good to be back.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
And we got a special guest today. Once again, returning for, I believe, the third time.
I think so.
Dr. Lavelle.
Just a regular,
to be
man.
back. I love it.
It's good
Glad
to have
be
you,
here.
man. It's good to have you. We were talking before the podcast, those boots.
Hey,
Yeah.
I only work in cowboy boots.
I love it.
And you're
the
from
only way.
Boston.
Boston boy in boots.
Never even.
It really is. I started wearing these when I was in Dallas. I was in Dallas for 2 years before coming here. And that everyone looked at me as like, oh, Jesus, here's another liberal from Boston coming down to ruin our town. And then they look down, oh, you're wearing boots? Maybe you're all right. It was always that icebreaker. And so I always kept wearing them. And now I don't wear anything else. I probably have like 8 or 9 pairs. I just find them comfortable.
Was it living there that kind of brought that out? Is
So
that what introduced you originally?
The first pair I got was my wife was interviewing. She's in medicine as well at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
And so she was there for a week. And there's music going on, Music Row there all day long. So I'd have a week of free time. So I'd go down there at noon, hit the bar, listen to music. And then by about 2 o'clock, because I'm a lightweight, I couldn't handle any more drinks. So I'm seeing the 2-for-1, the old 2-for-1 trick. At boot country, so I got 3 pairs of boots, and it's been that way since.
Have you ever ridden horse?
I have.
Oh. Once.
It was a great lesson. It was a great lesson.
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah. But we have cattle on the farm.
Oh, okay.
So wait, do you have to ride
That
a
aren't
horse to be a cowboy?
They're not your cattle, but got it.
Okay.
They're on the farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was
The barn
thing. You gotta
cats are
ride
mine,
it-
though.
You got to ride a horse to be a cowboy.
Yeah. I mean, that's cowboys wear boots, right?
I don't know the rules, man. I'm not.
I mean, they are cowboy
How many
boots, but
guys do you see walking around in a football helmet that's like, I never played football. I just
the football
wear
hey,
helmets.
this day and age, maybe you'll start seeing it with some of the crazies out there. They'll have a mask underneath, but
I'd say nothing's, yeah.
nothing's off limits.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know that Doc and I were having a conversation the other day about just the absolutely worst, horrible movements that nobody can do? Did you tell Dusty about this?
I briefly just mentioned to him
Okay.
when we were out there.
Oh, you
working
need
out.
the SOTS press that
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I wonder how, raise your hand if you know what a SOTS press is. It's a unicorn of a movement that nobody tries because it's so hard. And I was just kind of mouthing off about it the other day. And I was like, yeah, I tried this one movement. I actually tried an easier version, which is a behind-the-neck snatch grip press.
Yeah.
So much easier,
Yeah.
even mobility-wise.
Yeah.
But a SOTS press, for our listeners who don't know, that's where you're actually in the bottom of your front squat.
Yeah.
The barbell's in rack, right,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And you manage to press the thing overhead without losing any joint or humanity while you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not incorrect,
Yeah.
you actually did this.
Well, I took it as a challenge when you came up to me.
That is...
I had never heard of it. I didn't even know what you were saying. Sauce press, what
Yep.
press? I didn't know what you were
Yep.
talking about. But
Did
next
you ever do
day,
it with a barbell?
yeah.
Yeah.
See, Dusty's like, I don't believe him. I got to see it on video. But
I see it in his eyes. He's kind of like,
I
we're
would
gonna go
need to
test
see it.
I
Yeah.
can see it. I've seen that look before.
Because I've
Proof.
seen some of the things that, he says he does, and I'm like, nah, not entirely
he's
correct.
also
but-
seen my wife, though, so it's legit there. So
Okay.
I can get some things done.
It's not. Even to do that a little is pretty significant.
Yeah, no, it was
It's a tough movement, man.
Even to do it a little.
Well, they have
is
that
pretty
hip
significant.
flexion, that hip mobility, like you were
Yeah,
saying,
dude.
the ankle, the Achilles, and stay down on the bottom while you press up.
I'm super stoked.
I'm thinking
man.
that should be a benchmark for my patients to graduate.
That's
out.
exactly what I was
If
thinking.
you
I
can
was
do that,
like,
what can't you do?
you should do.
Not
that
going to be
for
much.
them.
Yeah.
I think if you can do that, you're in a pretty good position.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I think
That's what
it's
I'm going to do on day one. This is me. You got to be able to do this, and you're done with my care.
I mean, your practice is already unique, and then that takes it straight up unicorn.
Let us know how that goes.
Unicorn level.
Oh man,
right there.
people haven't even seen a barbell to even understand what SOTS press is. But
That may be true. Which is it brings us to today's topic, which is interesting, and I don't think we've talked about it at all. This is just something I thought would be cool, especially having Doc here. We'll get you to weigh in on certain subjects. We're going to go over: is it underrated, overrated, or is it just right? And we're going to take a couple of random topics. And we're just going to toss them out there. You can weigh in as much or as little as you like. You are not allowed to abstain. You have to actually talk about it.
Over, under,
Underrated,
or just right.
overrated, or just right.
Okay. Got
Whey
it.
protein.
Whey protein.
Whey protein. Now, again, I'm going to say this one more time. No, we've not rehearsed this at all. This is on the spot. You have to give your current today. If it changes tomorrow, that's totally
specifically, whey protein overrated.
fine. Yeah, whey protein
I think you
overrated.
definitely need protein.
Okay.
100%. Doesn't have to be whey.
Okay.
Could be pea protein. It could be collagen powder. Just getting those amino acids in there. But protein, I think you have to have it, obviously, to build muscle.
Okay.
And for
so-
overall health, for more than just muscle.
Are you talking about just the kind of protein, or are you talking
Correct.
about
You're
specifically a supplement of protein? Like,
I'm saying
is
you
it
need a
overrated?
supplement of protein.
Okay, you do.
That is not overrated.
But it doesn't
But specifically
okay.
whey, yeah. You're talking to a guy that's plant-based, so
Got it.
You're
Okay,
talking to a guy that doesn't.
he thinks it's overrated.
You said plant-based, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So that would definitely be an overrated
5 years
one.
plant-based.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. Okay. Oof, we got to have a whole other conversation about that. But okay, we got that one. Now, what's yours?
Yeah,
my
I'd say
friend?
whey protein's overrated. I think
Okay.
it's just highly marketed, and I, like John said, I think you need protein to build muscle, but
Yeah.
not specifically whey protein. That just seems to be what's more, it's pushed, more
Yeah.
widely known. But there are lots of different ways to get protein.
This is true, Doc. I mean, we can tell you definitely a worker outer. How many grams of protein do you take in a day?
I shoot for about 100 grams.
Okay,
So I
100 grams
weigh
protein a day.
170
Okay.
around and shoot to get in about 100 grams.
Okay. Dusty.
I'm more around close to my body weight.
Okay. About 1
So-
gram of body weight.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's
1 gram
more
of protein
like
per pound of body weight.
I probably 160 to like 180, somewhere in that range is
Okay.
about where I am.
And you would say, even though you want that amount of protein, that whey protein is still overrated.
Yeah, I didn't say I don't supplement my protein. Like I do.
So you still take. You don't think it's a bad thing?
No,
You
I
think
don't.
it's
I just think it's,
overrated.
yeah. Again, I think it's just that's what people, when they think of a supplementing protein, they immediately default to whey protein.
Got it. Okay, got it. So, but protein in itself, good.
Good.
Just whey
Yeah,
protein
and you need
overrated.
it.
Okay. I think we'll take that one. How about tricep press downs? Like I said, it's going to be as random as can be. Tricep press
Tricep
downs.
press down,
Yep. Overrated, underrated, or just right?
overrated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why are they overrated?
Well, I think it's just, again, we're talking about a specific
Yep.
movement.
But for a guy that wants to have big triceps, okay.
Yeah, the guy that wants just
Are
aesthetically,
are they still overrated? If I'm a guy who wants to have big triceps,
No.
Okay, then it's.
I think in general they're overrated because I think there's a multitude of ways that you can develop and strengthen the tricep
Okay.
without doing a tricep push down.
Okay. What would be like? What would be? Is there a go-to, or do you just say?
Oh, I
that
mean,
that
push-ups.
gets-
Like,
push-ups.
yeah.
Okay. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Keep it functional.
Yeah.
When are you doing a push down?
So instead of an isolation exercise,
But I
you want it
think
to be a
it depends what
compound
your
exercise.
goal is. Like you said, if you're
Yeah.
a bodybuilder, it's a good piece of that, in the toolbox to use it.
Aesthetically.
To have some diversity in what you're doing.
Yeah.
But for the average person in the real world,
No.
I'd rather something more functional.
So
Yeah.
you're saying overrated.
Overrated.
What would push up be the thing of
Push-up,
choice, or would it be
dips.
dip? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Dips. Yeah. Ring dips.
Bar
Matador
dips,
dips.
yep.
Bar dips. About
Yep.
all the same.
I think even just doing close grip bench, that's more accurate at things you're going to push in front of you anyway.
Yeah. Okay. How about backward sled pull? Overrated, underrated, or just right?
Underrated, man.
Oh, underrated backward sled pull. There's a lot of people that do that.
I see it. I think it's something that could benefit a lot more people, though.
So if I was somebody who saw somebody doing that, could you tell me why that would be a good idea? Just the average, average armor athlete. Why would it be a good idea?
Just strengthening like knees. It's a way to strengthen the knee, ankle, those joints without putting something on your back and loading it up real heavy. So just from a CNS standpoint, less taxing.
Yeah.
Something that you can do, a longer duration.
Yeah.
You do it longer, you're going to get an aerobic response out of it as well. So I think it's just something that we could all probably stand to be pulling a sled in reverse.
Is that our first underrated? I think
That is our first underrated.
Okay, it was a backward sled pull. Doc,
I
what you
agree.
got?
100% underrated.
Yeah, you like them
Think
too?
about how much you're doing every day. I'm getting back to the functional piece, which you guys know I like.
Yeah.
But every day people are trying to do it. That's probably the most common thing I see injury back-wise. Trying to pull something, move the furniture backwards, put it in a position. Super functional movement that people do all the time. but they don't apply it in the gym to strengthen that posterior chain, those hamstrings, stabilize the knees, as you said.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred way that you like to do the backward sled pull? Is it the
100%.
the belt style, or is it the hold the actual sled style?
I prefer. I mean, I like to do like longer duration, so I do prefer the
What's
belt.
long duration for you?
Like 10 minutes.
Like you pull the thing straight to, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 minutes on the sled. What kind of weight is that?
Body
Is that
weight.
Is that a constant?
Yeah,
Just
it's not
slow walk.
exactly.
Okay,
Just keeping
got
it moving.
Got it. When do you do that in your training? Like, is it as part of a warm up? Is it part of a cool down? Is it
Both.
You change it both? Okay.
Both, yeah.
Got it.
But I think like the belt is good, but there's so many different things that you can do. Like you use the straps, and
Yep.
then you can add a row in, and so you're getting a reverse pull and an upper body row. So I think they're both good, but I like that constant movement and constant tension.
Do you think it
Just low and
focuses more
slow.
on the back? That's why you like it? Or?
Well, I think you can you get a little bit more, even core, You're working some core stability. Get a little bit more glute involvement too.
Yeah. I went to, I believe, one of the first times I got to go to Westside, 20 years ago, we rolled up and there was two enormous human beings out pulling the sled backwards. And
Yeah.
This was, Louis was onto that.
How were they pulling it back then?
Almost exactly the same, but it would be interesting. So there was at the gym at Westside, it would, there's quite a big parking lot. It was like an industrial, Westside was part of something, and then there was something else. And you'd see them pulling it all the way around. And one trip around was like 15 minutes. And they would do one trip backwards, then like one trip sideways, so you'd be pulling it laterally.
Wow.
Then one was between your legs, and this would be for recovery, and they would be doing this for almost hours. And this is, before knees over toes became more popular, before backward sled stuff, and Louis was onto that even back then. So yeah, it's, okay, underrated. I'll take it. Off of that, what about running?
From an overall population standpoint, I think it's overrated.
Okay, explain that. To me.
It's interesting though. From Gen Pop, I think it's overrated. From inside the gym, I think it's underrated because I don't see it being done enough for the people that are coming to the gym, but I see it being done too much for the people that aren't in the gym. So the Gen Pop, who really, they're not training, they're not doing any routine, I would say, of like regular strength training. That's their workout, is a run, which is why you probably see a lot of injuries
100%.
From running.
It's easier to go run than to pick up a weight. That's what I get all the time. So I don't know if it's overrated or underrated, but it's overutilized.
That's what I was going to say. Is it overutilized because we're not doing anything else with it? Like in terms of what you see?
So
like
as you
is
get
it,
older,
I run.
Yeah.
How much do you deadlift? Oh, I've never done that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much do you walk or run or push a sled, pull a sled backwards? That
Never,
would help
ever.
if you counteracted that running, but they
Yeah.
don't do anything else. So then you see
Overused outside the
overuse
gym,
injuries.
underused inside.
That's a good one. So if you see that in the gym, like how do you work that into a program of somebody that comes in? Is it for everyone? Like,
Well, I think
Should everyone
I think
be
you
able to
need the
run?
ability to run.
okay.
You get a wild bear chasing you, and
When I was on the ski
you
hill
need to be able to run
last week, I wanted to be able to run from that moose if it chased me.
I think it's something that you definitely want to have the ability to do. Now, you got to be doing it, every day, or for that matter, every week. But it's something easy just to incorporate into your training. It could be in the warm up.
A lot of people that start running, they will complain about discomfort, and I get that. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I've never really done that before. That hurts. That's uncomfortable. I'll go to something else. But you got to support your entire body weight when you're running. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Is there a way that you work them into that you've seen that you're like, hey, we still need to be able to try some of these components that you set them up for success with running?
Well, I think you could go back to using the sled there. That would be a good place to maybe start to help just build some prerequisite, strength and strengthen the foot and the ankle and the knee, and then from there you could start to maybe layer in a little bit of intensity. I would tell you that one of the beautiful things about Armor Gym is we have the best assortment of treadmills that are on the market. In the True Form Runner, which gives you a little bit more of like a natural surface
I was
run.
going to ask you about that. So there's obviously the equipment that we have that has a motor.
Yeah.
But then the True Form is different. So tell me a little bit about that.
So the Woodway, so we got the Woodway Runner, which is more like self-propelled.
Yeah.
There is no mechanical or electrical piece to it. You are the motor.
What's the difference of that and running on a treadmill that has an actual motor?
Well, I think
mean,
you get a
obviously
more
the-
natural stride because you have the slope that's
Yeah.
on the woodway. So you're getting that the more of a natural and correct foot strike
Okay.
because of that.
So then would that make it something that if I was uncomfortable while running, could that be something that would take away some of that discomfort?
Yeah, I think it's a great place.
Okay.
Once you learn how to use it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a
Yeah,
learning curve
okay.
to it just because you are the one that's controlling the speed. So the faster you move, the faster
Faster it
it's
goes.
going to
Yeah,
go. Where the other runners that we have, like I said, they have more of the deck on them has a more like a cushion type feel to it,
Yeah.
where it gives you, again, more of that natural running surface type feel.
So maybe just don't start right out of the gate running. Maybe work into it. by
And
doing
don't
things.
do an excessive amount of it. It's not
Yeah.
like you need to, stay on the
For
treadmill an
whatever
hour.
reason in this country, that's what I see a ton of with patients is they want to lose weight. They want to get in better shape. They start running. And so they're running every day, 2-3 miles, and that's when they hurt their back.
Yeah.
I don't think running's bad for your back. It's never been shown to cause disc injury or anything like that, though. That's what people assume is the cause from all the pounding.
Yeah.
But it can, especially if you don't train the muscles around there to stabilize it and then start running.
I think it's probably a very overused.
Yeah. Overused.
Yeah.
Okay. So off of that, this one makes sense too. What about stretching? Underrated, overrated, or just right? Oh,
Go ahead, you take that
You
one.
can take a whole podcast on that. I know these are just it's
So
a top-down view of everything.
It's hard when you relate it to what the average population thinks about it. So I would say it's, again, overrated. I think
Overrated.
stretching is super important. I always tell people you need strong but long and flexible muscles so you
Yeah.
have good joint mobility.
Yeah.
But then when I would say, I'm throwing a number out there, but 80% of patients that I see that don't exercise, when I say, what do you do for exercise training? It's always, I stretch and nothing else. So they think that's exercise. They think that's enough if you just do stretching, or maybe it's yoga to incorporate some of that stretching and mobility, but there's none of that strength piece, or there's no conditioning piece.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important. You have to have flexible muscles because, as I said, if you don't have good mobility through your joints, which those muscles are controlling and the ligaments you're stretching too, that's when you get injury, when you don't have that full range of motion. So you need to do it, but you can't just do that. And I think it's overutilized,
Yeah.
as we say, or
Okay.
because people just want to do that. Again, it's because people don't like to get out of their comfort zone. It's the easy thing to do. You can run and stretch, and it's not as uncomfortable as doing some of these other things.
You said that if they're lacking range of motion, obviously there's going to be a lot greater chance for injury. Okay.
For sure.
Have you seen the person that says I stretch a lot, and you're like, yes, you do, and then that is the problem?
Oh, for sure.
That there's-
Because again,
that
it
they're
comes down
super
to anything.
mobile
If
and no
that's
strength.
all you do, it's that overuse. You're
Yeah.
just stretching, and that's hypermobility syndrome, which is probably underdiagnosed too, where people.
Ehlers-Danlos
That's
syndrome?
like the extreme of it,
Yeah.
but just hypermobility syndrome where you don't have the underlying organ injuries like Ehlers-Danlos,
Yeah.
where you just have hypermobility throughout the joints.
Yeah.
You can get injury that way because you're doing too much mobility in the joint. So that's the extreme of not having enough.
Do you see that as
mobility.
somebody who that's their sport, like a yogi?
see
Do you
it-
see that often? Out
For
of
me,
something
I
like
see
that?
it in back injuries all the time. That's when people can get little, what we call pars fractures or spondylolysis,
Yeah.
little injuries in the back because they have too much extension. See it a lot in extension sports, gymnasts, swimmers, where they're very hypermobility. They got a lot of extension, but too much so where the bone starts rubbing on the bone above it.
Yeah.
And that's when you get that stress fracture.
I'd say stretching and running are very, very similar because you got
Agreed.
one camp that's just doing way too much of it,
Yeah.
and then another camp that does none of it.
Okay.
So it's like those two both could stand to be probably utilized, I would just say, more effectively.
How do you utilize stretching in your training?
Well, that's how I begin. Like I start every session.
Static stretching?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and
So-
some dynamic, but I
Okay.
mean, it's it's just something that I do right at the beginning of every single session.
Yeah.
I
Are we talking
I like
about
to
like controlled articulates as stretching, or are you talking about like legit? I'm going to lie into a hamstring stretch, or both?
both. It just depends on really how I'm feeling or even what I'm doing. But I'm always incorporating some sort of stretching at the beginning of almost all my training. And then there's times when, if just physically, depending on how I feel, I may do some stretching and mobility at, say, the end of the night.
Okay. Is the stretching that you do before? So let's say that you've had a day of living life that wasn't particularly fitness oriented. Is the stretching you do before a workout just trying to catch you back up to what you would consider normal, and then you have a workout and then you go, or are you actually trying to reach beyond something and then get into a workout?
Yeah, I'm trying to do. It could be just to kind of get me moving a little bit and loosen me up, or it could be that. I for whatever reason, my hamstrings are just really feeling tight, so I'm leaning in on that a little bit more to try to spend some more time, stretching.
Here's
that
another
particular
way
muscle.
to ask that. If I was feeling, let's say that I only had enough time for one, strength training or stretching.
Strength training.
Okay, that's a good answer. I like that.
But everyone has time for both.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
Everyone
come
has
on.
time for both. Okay.
You sit in there, everyone watches TV. You can stretch while you're watching TV.
That's true.
Everyone's about
That's
to go
true.
to bed. Stretch for 10 minutes before you go to bed.
Do you have a mobility routine that you do that's specific to you? That's like an everyday
so I
kind of thing?
try to do like a, Dusty may laugh at this, but try to do a little dynamic warm-up before I work out.
Okay. Okay.
But that's his dynamic warm up is he bends over and ties his shoes before he gets started
I
training.
mean, I got to say, if you can do a stop press, you have some serious mobility.
Listen, I
That is-
get up at 5. I'm at work by 7:38. I'm
Okay.
working all day seeing patients. I come in here for an hour and work out, and then I
Yeah.
work out again for the rest of the day. So I'm getting some dynamic warm up for the first 4 hours before I get here at lunchtime.
Yeah.
But
you-
anyway, so I think
I love it.
I think every night I try to do some
Yeah.
static stretch. So
Is it the
I
same
like
thing?
I do it
is
through
a
like
routine for you, or is
It
it
is
different?
pretty
We're
much
going to need to verify this with Rebecca. I hope when she hears this podcast, we'll check in. I always like to go back and just make sure that
if it's not at night, it's right after you see me
Oh,
stretch
no,
here. But I like to do like yin yoga, where you
Yeah.
get a good long hold to your stretches, but
Yeah.
get good hip, back, thoracic. For me, I kind of forward flexed a lot, so thoracic mobility.
If there was one stretch you would tell athletes that they should, that just across the board, would there be one that you would pick for everybody? Like, hey,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
you need to spend a minute in this every day.
Dusty's
or-
taught me this a long time ago. Happy baby. Is that the
Really?
one?
That's a good one. Well, that's a
Really?
good one.
It is.
Well, when you say that, is there one that everybody like
Just
do
as a
it?
general rule, that would be.
You know,
good.
the first one that pops in my mind when you say that is cat cow.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that. I was. You
That's
didn't
a
give
good
me a
one.
chance. I was like, is it gonna be
Yeah,
a cat?
I just think it's
Yeah.
that's one that if you can do, if that's all you got, like
That's
that's
the
a
one.
good place to put your time. Yeah.
Something that's working on like the upper back or hips, because everyone gets tight hips. They lose that internal external rotation, and that
100%.
upper thoracic starts hunching. So I think if you can get extension in the back and work on hip mobility, those are the two most important areas to focus on.
We could do a whole podcast on just the stretching part of it.
But
Yeah.
if you think about it, though, everyone loses that mobility, and that's why people get injured. Because as we get older, we get weaker. Our muscles then have to work harder to do the same amount of activity that we want to do. So then they get overused. They start to tighten up because they're working harder, and so we get more scrunched. We get lose
Yeah.
that mobility. Or it's the opposite, where you get disuse, where everyone's sitting forward like this, so the posterior chain isn't used, isn't as stronger. So I think that's why we came back to strength, but also working on that flexibility is so important.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you, when you see like like strength go the other way, is that truly because we're just entropy and we're just going to get way worse, or is that because I've changed my habits and then the outcome has changed? Like, is it I just changed my lifestyle and then those things happen, or is it truly that every day older I get that much weaker?
Not if you fight against time.
Okay.
So if you keep doing stuff to prevent that, you won't get weaker.
But it's
You don't
usually that
need
we
to.
change our habits, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got a little
Yeah, you have
older,
to
I had
change.
more stuff get in life, and then all of a sudden I train less, and then shocking, I'm a little less mobile.
Well,
I'm a little less
usually you
strong.
see it when people retire. They become less active, and they become more sedentary, so they get atrophy that way. They lose their muscle mass, get tighter. Or it's the opposite. They want to keep doing things at 50 and 60 that they could do at 20,
Yeah.
but they're not training the body to be able to handle that.
Hey, I got one for you. And this one,
oh.
this I'm going to throw this one at you too.
Okay,
Hear what you
go
guys
for it.
got on
Do it.
this.
You go for it.
So, well, we chose strength training over stretching.
Yep.
Now, cardio over or strength training.
Which
Strength
one
training.
over which one?
Yeah.
Strength training.
Strength training.
100%.
And that's what I like data. Data doesn't drive everything. You got to apply it reasonably. It can't be the only end all be all, but you have to stay strong to live long. and healthy.
Amen. And that's why Armor Gym is the strength training facility.
Dusty, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys. It
Yep.
was fun.
This guy come in with like the home run.
Closing. I was
I was like, oh, it's okay, perfect.
we'll end it there.